Okay, welcome folks to the final session of Hearts of Wulin, Academy of the Blade. This is going to be the last of a four-part series detailing the adventures and struggles of our class of students who have been through a lot up to this point. Let's go ahead and get into some player and character introductions and then pick up where we left off last time. I'm just going to go ahead and go in character keeper order, starting with Jesse.
Hello, my name is Jesse. My pronouns are he, him, and I am playing Kit Fox, whose pronouns are they and them, in the Game Breaker role. Kit was the golden child groomed by their father in the school to rule. But they couldn't take the pressure, and something happened that we've never really determined, and they kind of broke. And came back angry at the school and the world, and their father. They sort of fell in. They recovered for a while after their breakdown in town under the wing of the Dust Devils faction, a troublemaking townie faction, yeah, they're currently, along with the rest of the group, in the catacombs under the chapel, being tempted by a masked devil, or formerly masked, now devilish figure, who looks, who resembles a person who Kit most recently wronged, Sato, an NPC who Kit recently wronged, and they fight with a glaive. Their current entanglements are that they love Jin, but have history. But he has history with my hated father, and Zashi, impressed by my coolness, has agreed to come under my tutelage to humiliate Dyer. And the first one is highlighted. I'm just gonna swap them from last time.
I was muted. Yeah, if anybody would like to change their entanglements as we go through this, you're welcome to. It's not really necessary since this is the final session, but I know that Zashi's got a move that triggers whenever they change entanglements, and it might be useful here. So I'll leave it up to your discretion if you'd like to fiddle around with highlighting and changing entanglements at this stage. So yeah, that works for me. Thank you very much, Jesse. Let's go over to Jamie.
Hi, I'm Jamie. I use they, them pronouns, and I have the pleasure to be playing Jin Watanabe, who uses they, he pronouns. So Jin is of the ClassCon playbook, specifically the flirt role, which has been a lot of fun. They come from the faction of the Bone and Blade, even though they're pretending to be part of the classic literature book club. And yeah, so maybe the demon showing up is maybe related to Jin's family and other horrible rich people in general. So aside from that, their weapon is a whip that showers black roses all around. Their main element is metal, and their entanglements are: I entered into a false relationship with Shinji to make Tomi jealous, but my feelings have swiftly become real. Can I make Shinji fall in love with me while holding on to Tomi? And my second one is: I've offered myself to Kit to be their weapon. Will that be enough to get them to like me, or has Haru truly poisoned them against me?
Excellent. Let's go over to Sam.
Hello, my name is Sam. I use he, him pronouns, and today I am playing as Zashi, who also uses he and him pronouns. Zashi is the ingenue. He is the new kid on the block, the transfer student who has come to the academy and is way over his head at this point, even more than he was the last session. At first he thought it was just weird duels and people fighting each other, but now there's demons and there's like deals going on, and I have no idea what's going on. And Zashi is just completely out of it. I've moved around my entanglements a little bit because when I do that, I get to clear all of my marked elements, which is great. So the one that I'm highlighting, I'm confusingly drawn to Jin and by extension Mask, but my mentor Kit is violently opposed to them. So that'll be fun. And then I'm in the middle of rewriting the second one, but I'm thinking of doing something along the lines of Yasunaka is attempting to use me as a weapon against my old friend Tomi.
That works for me. I think in that case, if there's nothing else on Zashi, let's just go over to our returning club president, played by John.
Yes, hello, I'm John. I use he, him pronouns, playing Tomi Yosen, who also uses he, him pronouns. Tomi is the club president of the rowing club, and I was very sad I had to miss last week, but the week prior to that, we saw Tomi finally carry out a duel with the Arrow Club, who ended up appointing Zashi to be that person to duel Tomi. Tomi was victorious in that duel, and then in a moment of hubris, answered a phone that he probably shouldn't have, and then he disappeared. And so Tomi has now is now waking up in this bottom basement area in the arms of his crush Jin. I feel like it has to have been that the first thing he said when waking up was, "Am I in heaven?" And I am going to swap my entanglement focus. I'm going to go with the I want to impress Dyer, but they're only interested in me to get at Kit. So we'll see if that comes into play.
All right, that works for me. So the way that we, player character keeper stuff. Yeah, you can go ahead and you can hide that column. It's fine. Yeah, so I think that we want to just jump right into it. I think that at this point, last I heard, we had this shot of who we're going to call Mask. Ironic because they're not wearing it anymore. As they look at each of you in turn. And if I recall correctly, Mask's face appears to you as a twisted version of the person whom, am I correct in remembering, the person you've hurt the most?
Who you wronged.
Who you've
is,
wronged.
Yeah, I was talking to my partner about this yesterday. I was like, where did that idea come from? Anyway, there you go.
It's an excellent idea. I'm like mind blown, better than anything I came up with. Yeah, so I think there's this shot of, this devil looking at Zashi, and when it is looking at Zashi, if I recall correctly, it's this vision of, who is it, Zashi, your mother?
Yeah, it's Zashi's mother, because Zashi has basically just ignored all of the things that his mother has tried to do to make his life better, and he thinks his life is a sad story, even though it really isn't that bad.
What is it about this visage of your mother that is wrong in some way? You know that it is kind of this twisted dark world version.
Zashi has never seen his mom that angry. And it's very clearly she's angry with him, and he doesn't know why, and it's painful.
Wow. Okay. Then we have the figure Mask turn to look at Kit. And Kit, who does this figure appear as to you?
So I think we said last session it was Sato, whom I recently spurned and said some pretty horrible things to, and whom I wasn't super nice to, even, before that, in all honesty, in the way of callow youth in love affairs.
For sure. And I think I just kind of threw out as an idea last time that their face appears almost porcelain, like a doll with a crack down the middle. But is there maybe something different that you have in mind for the way that you know this is?
Yeah, I think I like that. I like that she has this sort of doll-like face, like cracked. I think that is maybe reflective of my psychology of her as an object that I damaged, perhaps. rather than, you know, anything that reflects, you know, it's coming from me, not from the reality of Sato. Who I think that's who is a person with agency and you know, probably a lot of anger right now at me, I would think.
Sure.
But you know, I think from my perspective, that's really great.
Got it. People will be talking about the symbolism for ages on message boards after this anime comes out. And Jin, think Mask will look at you and your eyes lock, and there's almost this moment of borderline familial commonhood or familiarity that you share with each other. What does this creature look like when it glances in your direction?
I think they look like me. They look like a twisted version of me, and I don't know what to make of it. But I think that's when Tomi says that delightful line about, you know, being in heaven, so on and so forth. And so when that happens, I shake my head. I look down at Tomi and I say, I certainly hope we're in heaven, and I'll do my best to be your angel.
Tomi, how do you respond? And also, I'm curious, what does the thing over in the shadows look like when you look at it?
I think Tomi, you know, just like kind of rolls over to hug Jin, and then rolls back to see what's behind him, and Tomi sees Suto.
Why Suto, do you think?
I think so. Tomi's, I think, feeling a lot of guilt about what happened with Suto, and I'm trying to think of how that. I feel like that's what's personified. Is that guilt? I'm just trying to think of how that would be personified. Maybe it's like Suto. It's Suto, but like her hair is like wet and dripping and almost looks like it's falling out, like she's been cast out from the, you know, the water.
I was gonna say drowned Suto.
Yeah.
So she has this corpse-like, bloated, kind of bluish appearance, if that doesn't interfere with any lines and veils. Yeah. Fascinating stuff. And so I think at this time, the lot of you have choices to make at this time. You know, I mean, Tomi, you're in a particularly strange position because I don't know that you were ever given a specific offer from Mask, although I imagine if you asked, they would be willing to give you something. But time is short. Mask has their arms outstretched as if offering to you, someone take my hand, come. If you grasp my hand, then your wishes will be fulfilled. And you upstairs hear this pounding, boom, 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 as an army of footsteps has busted through the stained glass windows of the chapel. It is only a matter of time before a essentially small army of trained Black Widow Syndicate warriors descends down, led by none other than Yasunaka. I'll start with Zashi. You're in a precarious position. What would you do here?
Why do you start with me? Zashi is panicking a little bit and very indecisive.
Inner conflict, perhaps?
Probably. Zashi is trying to not give in to this person, because that I feel like there is some sense of like, no, I shouldn't do this. This is clearly a bad person, and Zashi is kind of pure and wholesome like that. But that is tempting, and I think Kit's kind of anger is helping the resistance a little bit. Yeah, so I think inner conflict makes sense. What do I roll with here? awareness, water. I think that tracks, like being aware of how bad of an idea this would be. That is an 8. On a 7 to 9, you may maintain your composure by marking an element or withdrawing from the situation. Does hiding behind Kit count as withdrawing from the situation?
Hmm. I could see that being the case, so long as it was a true withdrawal and not simply like setting up an ambush where you re-enter the scene or something like that. Like you would essentially be cowering.
I'm withdrawing from the decision that I have to make, and so I'm basically saying, Kit, figure this out for me. I'm just kind of like, I'm gonna leave and let Kit do whatever they're gonna do.
Interesting. Okay. I think
I do think this is Zashi kind of withdrawing from the scene in a interacting with the scene sense, but I think that's just narratively how I want it to happen.
Absolutely. So I think that at this point it might be appropriate to go over to Kit, because I see in the chat that Kit may be on the move. He might not be able to cower behind a Kit for very long here. What's Kit going to do here?
So Tommy wanted to study first. I don't know if that's better to just to maybe let that happen before.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, rolling over, getting a glimpse at this, and yeah, taking in the situation and you know what scenario we're in here. So I think what's the attribute for if you're panicking? I guess that might be like speed, like fire, like looking around quickly, trying to take everything in. Let's go with that. That is +2. All right, that's 11. I already forgot what the move says.
You get 2 hold, and you spend them 1 for 1 to ask questions, learn skills, and reveal details.
Interesting. I'm just super curious. Can I ask about the scale of mask? Is that a thing I could learn?
Sure. Yeah, I think it's safe to say that this individual is we'll say that they are definitely above your scale. I think that I'll also make it clear that this is no ordinary individual. Simply gaining scale on them will not be enough to defeat them in a test of combat. It's not a matter of being able to simply get better at fighting than them. There is something literally supernatural about them that makes them challenging to defeat. But you do have to gain scale on them before. Like you have to do both.
Right. Okay. I think then my second question will be to ask if there are any escape routes visible.
Let's see here. Escape routes. I think that's reasonable. Perhaps what you have before you is a I like this. There is a kind of a loose patch of flooring off in the corner of the sublevel, and if you pushed up on it with enough might, it'd probably be an overcome roll. You could get it up. You'd have to scale up the pillar that's holding it up. It's just this old rickety wooden column, probably bowing in the middle a little bit. Who knows, if you try to climb the thing, maybe it'd snap, but hey, it's an escape route. Surely it wouldn't bring the whole chapel down underneath you. That's kind of, I think, the escape route that isn't obviously just run across the room, up the stairs, and into the army.
So I think what Tomi does is, starts to pick himself up, but maybe keeping his arm locked with Jin's will nudge Jin and just quietly lean over and say, I think there's a way out up that column.
Jin?
And I look towards the column and I'm thinking about what Mask said, what the demon said, and I'm also looking at Kit. But I look back at Tomi and I say, where you go, I'll follow.
So Tomi, do you dramatically take Jin and rush to escape, or how do you want to describe it?
I'm wondering if this is when Kit starts to move, and yeah, I'll take that opportunity to lead us away.
I think you'll have a moment of distraction because Kit, I think this is where you get to make your move. Zashi has tried to cower behind you, but what do you do?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm just, and I imagine that this is like chronologically, this is happening simultaneous to Tomi's like examination and realization, right? To follow if that's happening in an instant, like as Tomi is telling Jin about the escape route, right? As those words are escaping his lips, Kit is like charging, glaive swinging, pennant streaming behind them, leaving Zashi in their wake.
Kit, where are you going? Don't leave me.
I kind of imagine that, like, it almost looked like a defensive posture at first, that Kit was like, doing that cool, like swinging the spear with the blade flying like in front of their body kind of deal in preparation to strike, but also like kind of defensively for a moment, so that like Zashi seemed like he was able to, but then it's just like and engages Mask.
Okay. What I'm hearing is that you're essentially trying to, I mean, borderline kill this thing. I mean, it's not human, that much is obvious.
Yeah, I mean, so it's not, I don't think it's that thought out. Like there isn't, like this is just like pure, almost like pure rage. Embrace the ideal and emotional over the practical, right, is the player agenda for the game breaker. And I think like this is 100% like, you've asked me to give up like my hatred. I think I almost like shout at them, right? My hatred for my father, I don't hate the school because I hate my father. I hate my father because I hate the school. Right? It's all about the power structures and the way they put me. It's co-opted my family. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, yeah, I don't know that I'm trying to kill them, because I don't think I'm thinking like there's a goal. I'm just like lashing out at this powerful creature that wants to stop me from imposing my will on the world.
I feel like duel is appropriate here.
It seems like it.
But let me well, go ahead before you roll. I have some narration, but what were you going to say?
I was just saying, like tactically, this is also kind of like giving other people an opportunity to see the Mask fight, right? So any one of us can then scale up but anyway, but also no tactics, just rage.
Sure. So I think one thing that I want to narrate as you make this rush towards Mask, they will kind of tilt their head to look at you, and we have this shot of porcelain Suto, and the doll face makes this great cracking grin as it sees you approach. Their hand kind of beckons toward you, and as they do so, you feel this pull on your body. Not just your body, but actually the almost spiritual essence that composes you. You feel you're almost a part of your soul being wrenched away from you, and everybody sees almost this ephemeral vapor being almost torn from Kit. It goes and kind of almost solidifies into Mask's arms. What is happening mechanically is that Mask actually tears a part of their opponent's soul out of them and transforms that into their weapon. To simply attack Mask, you must mark an element, and in this case, I would say you want to mark wood for patience.
Sure.
That's from the supernatural
That's
variant
super
rules.
cool. I love it.
And the weapon that solidifies here is what I would only describe as a double-bladed scythe. You have the central staff, one blade going downward, one blade coming upward, engraved upon one blade, of course, the mask of comedy, engraved upon the other blade, the crying mask of tragedy. In the middle, an hourglass filled with blood.
Woo. Oh, that's amazing.
They do not seem intimidated. They almost seem exhilarated by the idea of inflicting violence upon you.
Sure. Yeah, and I like see that, and I'm just, so I this is more to flavor what I'm doing, but so I have the escape artist move. You can slip from bonds and pass through locked doors and windows as if they are open. This extends to attack and defense. Your body moves elegantly so as to not wrinkle your outfit or spill your wine. So like it doesn't give me a mechanical benefit here, but I like, that's going to flavor how I move throughout this, right? Like I'm quick. I am agile. I'm like weaving, flowing around and through and past their blade. Obviously eventually they're going to do something to get me because they are higher scale than me. But until that moment, right? Like it's this very this very like liquid dance, I think, where maybe I'm not touching them, but they're not touching me either. And I should roll, right?
Yeah, that'll
Roll
be
plus
with your
earth.
style element.
Roll plus earth. Okay. 1, 2 plus 2. And that's an 11. So I get to narrate how I lose.
Yes, and you also get to mark XP for losing a duel.
Wonderful.
And just in case I forgot to mention, I forgot who it was that I think Azashi, you rolled inner conflict. Make sure to mark XP for that too if you haven't already.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, so I think the way this, and I mean, I think the way this ends up working is that, like, again, it's me kind of like flowing around them, my glaive a blur, the pennant sort of like streaming around, creating a kind of like almost like a gray, because the pennant is this silvery gray color, right? Like a gray silver like trail, like that you follow the blade more easily by seeing the stream of the pennant because it's moving too fast, right? Ducking and weaving and moving in. And like every time their double scythe is just there. And I think I think the blade of the glaive gets through once and kind of like nicks the doll mask exactly where the crack is. And it's tell me if I'm going too far with this, and it splits the doll face, like revealing just emptiness behind it. Right. So I sort of like, I get through the face it's trying to show me to reveal emptiness, at least in my vision. I don't know what other people see. And at that moment, they just catch, they just, as it catches in the doll face and like cracks it open the rest of the way. I think a clawed, sort of deformed, gnarled, clawed hand reaches out of that emptiness in its face, and grabs the glaive right below the blade, and just like shoves me back, like, just like pushes me back as if this whole show was nothing to it, right? Like they could have stopped me at any moment, perhaps, or maybe they needed, but that hand emerges and shoves me back, and I'm knocked back into Zashi, and I'm trying to think. I think I should also be like, at least have a super, like there should be some blood here. I think the scythe, comes across and like, right, spins. And I think the blade hits my cheek on either, like each of the blades hits one of my cheeks as it does its little spin. And I'll leave it there. Like that's the defeat and the sort of like the sign that it could have killed me. I think it doesn't. And yeah.
So you have the really hot anime bloodline kind of thinly trickling from either side of you.
Exactly.
Just to up the disturbing factor a little bit.
Sure.
I think
that hand is still waving out there too.
I think that when it strikes you with the blade that is of the comedy, with the comedy blade, for lack of a better way of phrasing it, because it solidified this weapon from your own soul, it strikes you with the comedy blade, and you hear yourself cackling. Everyone does. It is this almost manic, evil laughing coming from your own voice, and then cuts you with the other blade. This is the one from Tragedy. And the laughing suddenly transforms into basically scream crying. It is the most horrible, disturbing, wretched pain that you have ever heard emerge from yourself, and it is coming from the dripping blade of this devil whose face is cracked in half. And I imagine that the hourglass fills up a little bit more with each drop of blood that it spills from you.
May I just quickly? I think I've cried like that once in my life, and it was after my breakdown. Like it was in that moment. And I, like, whatever the thing that had happened, and I was back in my dorm room, like shivering in the corner, or in the corner of the shower with the water running hot, and just this scream crying of despondence and brokenness. And that's the only time I've ever made those noises in my life, and that now I'm hearing them again. And maybe I'm even hearing the hiss of the shower in my ear. No one else can hear it. That part, they just hear the laughter, the sobs.
That's intense. Jen, Tomi, is this the opening that you want to take? Or do you want to change course upon noticing this happening? Tomi?
Tomi is not. Tomi is running for the pillar and, arm in arm with Jin. I will leave it up to Jin to decide, do you go back for Kit or do you go with Tomi? And then I think even in this moment, like Tomi has like glanced over his shoulder to see what's happening and has yelled back at Zashi to run for it.
I think Jin sees themselves, what looks like themselves, attacking Kit. And yeah, I think Jin's really scared in this moment. I think Jin's going to run with Tomi.
Very well. So in that case, I think one of you, really whoever is just leading the charge here, is going to want to make an overcome roll. if it comes down to it, the other of you two may make a comfort and support roll to potentially add 1, if necessary. So who would like to go ahead and make that? I'm assuming Tomy, but
Yeah, if that works for everyone, because I do kind of picture Tomy probably in the lead. So overcome, and I think this would be with I'm gonna say with metal. And that is let's see, what's that, +1. Oh wow, another 11.
brilliant rolls today.
Yeah.
All right, that's an 11 on overcome. So in that case, you succeed. As far as I can tell, there's no additional kind of flavoring to it. You just pull it off successfully. So describe how that goes for you.
So this is up through the point of, is this getting to the column or getting up the column and like opening the? I think we said there's like, it was like a tile. You know, I'm picturing climbing up a column, and then there's like, you know, we're pushing open some of what's our ceiling, the floor above, to climb out.
Right. I imagine kind of like it's basically hardwood, kind of like hardwood strips, and you're kind of like having to rip those up, like they kind of bend and snap outward as you get up through the center.
Yeah,
I'll say that it's not just to get to the column; it's to get all the way out.
Okay, so I think we see, you know, Tomy like just fling himself at this column and start to climb it, while, you know, bringing Jin behind him. And then when he gets to the top, the trident appears and he's just jabbing upwards, breaking wood as it splinters out. And then you get the shot from the top of the other side as the trident breaks through. And then the two of them, you know, climbing up and out from the sub level.
And I think that as you kind of get up there and see yourself back on the main floor of the chapel, you're probably going to draw the attention of at least a few Black Widow Syndicate goons. You know, they may not be right there next to you conveniently, but I think that you climb up and there's probably at least a good pack of 5 or 6 or so who will be there. You know, as they rush to secure the area, and Yasunaka is about to make an excursion down into the sublevel. What do you want to do at that point? We might not resolve it, but I want to know at least what you're going to plan on doing.
I think Tomy looks to Jin and says, well, we should have known we weren't getting out of here without a fight.
And I know we're going to cut away real soon, but I think Jin smiles and says, let's see, I may have another trick up my sleeve. And I'm just saying my intention is to use the flirt move to see if there's someone in the faction who has a thing for me or not.
I think Yasunaka might be an appropriate target.
Absolutely.
Let me see. I'm trying to read that. Interact with a, well, it just has one of its members. It doesn't have to be a specific one, but okay. I'll leave it up to you if you want to target Yasunaka or a different member. Oh boy. But let's go over to, I think, Kit, you have an inner conflict role that you wanted to go ahead and make. And I'm also curious, once we get that established, Zashi, what you're gonna do.
Yeah, So I think I'll roll, but I'd like to hear what Zashi does, and maybe like I'll flavor the results of my roll like around Zashi's actions, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. So go ahead. XP for. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Zashi.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say my plan was to have Zashi maybe pull you out of whatever is happening as like a comfort and support to like help you get out of this situation if you roll badly on this inner conflict roll.
Absolutely, sure. That sounds good. So I'm rolling with water because I am feeling isolated and uncertain at being abandoned by the person who once offered to be my weapon. And roll, but that's a 12. Where are these rolls coming from? My God.
Mark XP for rolling.
Yep. Yeah. So I keep myself together. Yeah, so I keep myself together. So Zashi, I'm curious what you're like. You see me like shake my head and say, well, fuck him anyway, or like mutter that under my breath. I reach my hand up to you, Zashi, just like as if like help me up, please.
Yeah, I think at this point, Zashi, if you're actively like trying to engage Zashi, that probably snaps me out of the panic that I was in for a little bit. And so now it's like pulling you up while looking around and maybe trying to see how close the Black Widow Syndicate people are getting. And maybe seeing how far Tomi and Jin have gotten type thing, seeing where they went, because now I'm almost coming to in this moment, trying to figure out what just happened. So maybe study.
Yeah, Mask is still around, right? They haven't taken off.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I'm
they're
not.
right
I'm
there.
not planning on sticking around, but I don't really have a good way out without trying to figure out how to get out of here. So I think this is water again with awareness, trying to figure out what's going on, seeing if I was aware of
And this
anything
is the
going
study
on.
move?
Yeah,
Okay, absolutely.
I think that's what's happening here. That's an 8. And so I get the basic information and 1 hold. So I guess the basic information, are there any of the Black Widow Syndicate people that have made it into the room, or have we taken that long with this duel, or are we still the Black Widow Syndicate are trying to get downstairs?
I think that just to make things interesting, we'll say that they have begun to descend the stairs. If we took a freeze frame and this was a manga panel and we had the full-length profile of the entire sublevel, you would see the first footsteps, not even with an upper torso attached to them, but just the first, heavy booted footsteps of people descending the creaky old stairs as they rush down. So
Yeah,
you have time for essentially one move to make, not mechanical move, but just a thing to do before they're all over.
And then I'm going to use my hold to ask a question about a person. Will Mask follow us if we leave?
It's a good question. I will say I'm inclined to actually say no. I think they're a sinister enough villain that they'll just say, "Oh yes, you can run, try," but they won't actually chase you. There won't be a chase scene here.
Okay, that sounds good. And so I think that to Zashi, I don't think Zashi would have even noticed where Tomi and Jin went. And so the only way out is up those stairs. And I know Kit is good at fighting. And so I think this is let's pick Kit up and start running, and hopefully we can get through all these syndicate folks in one piece.
Kit, how does that sound to you? What would you do here?
I mean, I'd like to know what Mask is actually doing here, right? Because I still kind of see them as my primary antagonist, if that makes sense. And
you can continue ignoring my advice all you want.
Yeah. I don't think I'm gonna I know better now than to just attack them, right? But I do want to know what action they're taking. Are they just standing back and leaning on their side and watching the Black Widow Syndicate, or are they do they seem to have an agenda that they're pursuing? And if I need to roll study to get answers to those questions, I'm happy to.
I think that upon making it clear that this is not an even fight, I think that what they will do is they will simply, one more time, one more chance, extend a hand in your direction.
Yeah, I think I do the same thing I do the last time. I spit. I spit in the direct. I think there's enough distance between us. I can't spit directly on their hand, but I spit in their direction. And I look back at Zashi, and I sort of I think I'm agree. I'm not. I don't say anything, but I make eye contact in a way that lets you know that I'm following your lead. Which should feel like a big deal. It's intended to feel like a big deal.
Pressure. Oh God. I think Zachi okay, this way, I guess. Let's go. And just starts backing away from Mask as fast as they can, and running towards the door.
What does your move like? What does it look like when you move? Is it graceful? Is it clumsy? Is it scattered? Is it athletic? Is it? I'm trying to get a sense of.
Zashi is very clumsy to start off with, but I think this is kind of the moment where when I turn to actually start running, you can tell that I've been training with you. Maybe there was a scene earlier in the series where I had to run and I looked like a moron, just my arms flapping around everywhere. But now I actually have some amount of form, and the form between the two of us is almost matched.
Right, you're matching my grace with your strides, right? Yeah. It's the same,
It's not perfect, but it's pretty good.
Right. I'm trying to think if there's I feel like in the animation when I move like that, especially with the pennant of my glaive, right, streams behind me in that way. And I wonder if this time now there's some aspect of your. Are you still wearing that scarf that you were wearing when we were fighting?
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's maybe it's that, but it almost looks like this flame that's going back because it's this big red scarf.
Right, and it in some ways it echoes the pennant that is sort of my signature, right? So that we've got that. It's still distinctively you, but you can see the relationship.
Brilliant. So in that case, I think that I just want to get a sense as to what exactly the moves that we're making here are. Zashi, it sounds like you're.
Maybe this is comfort and support.
Well,
I think the end goal here is deal with troops, but I don't know if you want to do a move before that.
We can see if that is you can do comfort and support after the first roll is made. Okay. So let's go ahead and maybe go to Kit. Or maybe we should cut to Jen and see what that little act of social devilry looks like. Maybe do that, and then we'll roll the move in the middle, right at the most comedically appropriate time.
Sure.
Jen, what you doing?
Yeah, and I think I think what it looks like is that Jin steps out, and there's a clack of the heel against the floor that rings out through the chapel. And I'm gonna see if so I'm gonna read out the move. You like charming people, making them feel good about themselves and even better about you, but you don't like it if they stick around after it's no longer fun. Whenever you interact with a new faction, roll. So let's see how it goes. Okay, I opened up Chrome because it is nicer to me when I roll. Okay.
What element?
Oh, sorry, it was water.
Okay.
Oh, and it's bad. Of course, we had to have one bad roll. So on a miss, a faction member is a bitter ex with a grudge.
So a bitter ex of yours, I take it.
Yes.
Oh my. What kind of people are just not Jin's type? The kind of people where it's like, what was I thinking dating a cheerleader? Like that kind of thing. Like where like that's not who I'm into. What was I thinking? Like that kind of thing.
Oh my gosh, Jin will date anyone. So have to think about this. You know what? I think Jin understands using people in order to get ahead. I think even if Jin doesn't always agree with it, there's an understanding of it being a necessary thing sometimes for people. But Jin doesn't like people who uses and breaks people just for the joy of it. Like if there's nothing they're getting out of it, but they just want to break someone. And so I know Yasunaka was like a possibility, but I actually think it's like maybe there's like a lieutenant of the Black Widows, this really like dangerous ooh, I don't know. I kind of want to say it's Dyer's sister, if that makes sense.
Keeping it in the family. Okay.
Yeah, why not?
So that sounds appropriate to me. I think that you'll see Dyer's sister. Perhaps I'm trying to think of a good name for them. Maybe something to the effect of like May, like Maye, if we haven't used that already.
Yeah.
And I imagine that even though you associate May, at least in the northern hemisphere, with sunny, sunshiny, happy, springtimey weather, she is this very dark and gloomy, kind of angsty sort of individual. Reminds me a little bit of maybe Nikki's sister. I forget the name, but from Utena, something along those lines. She's got this kind of sinister vibe to her. And I think that what'll happen is she has her hair pulled back in this very militaristic sort of hairstyling, and she has the kind of French military shoulder pads. There's a name for them, I forget what it is, but the ones that you see in the dueling outfits from Utena. And I think that she will take notice of you. Is it because of the clack of the heel, Jen, or what is it that exactly? That's it. Yeah, epaulets. What is it that gets their attention, Jen?
Oh, I think it's a clack of the heel, and I think they answer it. Like they also step forward, and there's like another clack from her heel, right, as she steps forward.
I see. She gives you this almost like evil kind of smile and says, well, Jen, I've been waiting for this for a long time. And I think she has sort of a rapier, kind of an old style cavalier sidearm kind of at her hip. What do you do?
And I say, oh, darling, this entire party just for me? You always did like to go a little overboard. And I'm trying to like push at Tomi to be like, to go ahead. Like I'm trying to keep her attention on me, and hopefully like get the rest of their attention on me so that Tomi has a chance to escape.
I see. Tomi, what do you do in response?
I think this would be inner conflict, right?
It certainly could be here.
Yeah, I think so. Because I mean, yeah. Do I stand by Jin? Finally, or am I too chicken? Do I have to run away? So let's roll to find out. Okay. So I can't roll with my primary element, right?
Not your style element, no.
Not my style element. Which is fire. That's right. Okay. I think this is probably. I think this actually might be wood. I think I'm very curious about who this person is that has stepped out and what their relationship is to Jin. So that is a -1 for me. Let's see how that goes. Okay, so that's an 8. And what's that say? On a 7 to 9, you maintain your composure by marking an element or withdrawing from the situation. If not, you overact and escalate, you embarrass yourself socially, or you create a misunderstanding with someone present. So I'm going to mark an element and maintain composure. And I think as Jin is pushing on Tomi to tell him to leave, I think instead Tomi takes Jin's hand and then steps forward shoulder to shoulder with the trident in the other hand and says, "I'm not leaving you again." And I will mark let's see. Okay, so I've never marked an element before. So there's other descriptions on the right. That is like describing how you're feeling when you mark it. Is that how that works?
Yep.
Yeah, kind of like in theory, if you're marking, Earth, when you don't have it marked, you have the capacity for caution, focus, and presence. When it is marked, you tend to be more obsessive, disdainful, and uncaring. It's just kind of a role-playing suggestion more so than a mechanical force, but does that make sense?
Gotcha. Yeah, so I'll mark wood because I think Tomi is probably overconfident right now and angry at all this crap going on. Why has it got to be so difficult? I woke up in Jin's arms and everything was fantastic. And then there was this whole mask thing. We had to run. Now there's all these people.
Why has it got to be so difficult indeed? Okay, I'm sorry. So let's go over to, I guess, I'm kind of curious maybe. I wonder if, Jen, is this a place where you would be doing a duel with your ex and Tomi, you're fending off the troops around them?
I love the sound of that.
Okay. And simultaneously, I want to go back to Kit and Zashi. I mean, perhaps this is the part where, as Kit, you're making your way up the stairs. None other than Yasunaka is right there. And this is the reckoning between the two of you. And you two have to get into it. And Zashi, you got to hold the rest off of them. So everybody's involved in some kind of conflict. We have 2 simultaneous duels. Maybe that would be the right way to frame this. Kit, what do you think?
I love it. I love it so much, but I love it especially because, right, this is, I don't know about skill level, but like this is like emotionally the opposite of the fight that just happened, right? Kit doesn't care about Yasunaka, but Yasunaka's furious at Kit, right? Right, Yasunaka is the head of the Arrow Club that like I blew off to deal with other stuff but they wanted me to train them to fight Tomi.
It wasn't to fight Tomi. I need to look back at the character.
Yeah,
it
was to fight
It was to fight Tomi. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And I was like, well, I got other stuff to do now. But so I love that this is something. But I was a dick to her. Right. That's her. She her. I was not nice to her. She has every right to be mad. I'm just not emotionally invested in it. So I like that. Like that opposite piece of it. That like mirror image.
Awesome. All right then. So I think that we will set that up and play it out. Let's go ahead and take the first break now. Come back in maybe 10, and we'll have 2 simultaneous duels and 2 simultaneous duel with troops. See you guys in a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think where we last left off, we were just about to have several different duels and deal with troop moves going on simultaneously. So my thinking is resolve deal with troops first and then go into duels. I think that sounds sensible. I am actually really curious to hear how Zashi fights in this kind of situation. So maybe we can start with you. This is going to be a stairway battle. I think it's the two of you basically on the bottom of the stairs fighting off people who have the high ground. So Zashi, what does that look like from your point of view?
Yeah, so I think this is Zachi and Kit get to the bottom of the stairs just as this crowd of Black Widow Syndicate fighters also reach the foot of the stairs. And we kind of like all stop and just look at each other for a quick second. And as we rush forward to try and push through them, I think Yasunaka just like does a flip over the top and lands behind us. And so Kit and I just kind of look at each other, and Kit turns to face Yasunaka, and I keep going up the stairs. I think this is less of a fight and more of a pileup. Because my goal here is not to hurt anybody. I'm still trying not to do my best not to hurt anybody, but I'm just getting in the way. I'm like getting people to bump into each other. I'm causing this big old jam up the stairs so nobody can actually get down and interfere with the fight that's going on behind me.
Makes sense to me. And I imagine that these are basically foot soldiers, and so they're fighting, not with stylistic weapons really, but essentially things like, clubs and,
Yeah.
like small swords that they kind of have pilfered out of some armory somewhere. But, they're wielding them with a little bit of, just kind of a very unrefined brute force kind of manner of fighting, punching down onto you basically.
And I think that maybe Kit taught me one move with this chain blade, and that's to trip somebody up. And so it's a lot of me like wrapping people's legs and flipping them upside down and knocking them into domino effect up the stairs. Yeah, I think that's a lot of it.
That works.
Yeah, so let's roll to see how that goes. So I have to roll with my style element, which is fire. Makes sense. Creativity, that totally tracks as to how I'm dealing with this. That is Snake Eyes.
Well, now that we've come back from the break, with the tide of battle is turning. Okay.
Yep. On a miss, choose their numbers, overwhelm, and you must retreat, or you win at a cost. If multiple characters fight troops and one PC retreats, the others must as well. I think I want to win at a cost, in so much as winning is stopping them from interfering with Kit and Yasunaka, but I get captured. Is that enough of a cost?
Oh, that'll play. I mean, yeah, is that enough? Oh my gosh, that's incredible. So I think, what does the capture look like here? Do you just get like, you get through one, you get through two, three, four, but the fifth one is the one that gets you on the back of the head? Is it just sheer numbers that overwhelm, or?
No, I think that it's like it's the sheer numbers, and I don't even know that we even see that until maybe after the end of Kit and Yasunaka's fight, and then depending on how that goes, Kit turns back and I'm just being like dragged up the stairs or something like that.
I love that. I think I can add even one more complication to that, but we'll find out what that looks like after. after Kit resolves their fight. So that's the result of Zashi's deal with troops. Let's go to Tomi. I think that essentially what's happened is Jin and May have locked eyes, and I think May has this um, sort of like playful, it would be my pleasure to beat you up kind of look to her face. And I think she just gives kind of a nod. And on either side of her, just this swarm of, again, foot soldiers come off on either side. And yeah, I think that they will kind of initially, I'll actually say that they don't go for Jin. I think that they know better than to get in the way of May and her prey. So I think they will go straight for you at this point. How do you think this looks from Tomi's perspective?
Yeah, I think it's one of those fights where it's like everyone knows which group or person you're fighting. And so Tomi knows, okay, I'm going to deal with everyone else. And they know, the troops know I'm with Tomi, and Jin and May are going to be the solo fight in the center. And so I think it's, you know, Tomi, like, I think we get like panels of artwork of Tomi like dashing from place to place with like hints of this like wavy line art behind him, you know, like the waves of water as he moves, you know, thrusting the trident out and spinning around. Probably some of the same moves he had used against Zashi in that fight.
That works for me. Yeah. So it's sort of like you're fighting almost in a circle around Jin and May.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, like you know how in movies it's like, what? Why don't they all attack at once? I don't know, just because they don't. So it's like almost like there's like a peripheral of all the troops that Tomi is keeping. You know, they're fighting at that circle, and then in the center is Jin and
Right.
May.
I think there's like an overhead shot, top straight down, and it definitely has some whirlpool imagery with it. Jin
Yeah.
and May are at the center of it, and you are kind of this whirling current that encircles them. Excellent. So let's go ahead and roll to deal with troops and see if we can
All right.
make this one work.
All right. I got an 8. Let's see. So that is on a hit, you defeat them. And so it says 10 plus, you do so easily. So it's not easily, but I do defeat them. So I think, yeah, I think it's probably, I think the sheer numbers of them versus Tomi is just a lot. And so, by the end of all of this, right, we still have sort of like Jin and May's thing to play out in the middle, but by the end, I think Tomi is just probably pretty ragged looking. And I'm gonna, maybe like exhausted and looks spent. Tomi just woke up a little bit ago, so I can't imagine he's in tip-top physical condition at this point.
Exhausted enough that Tomi probably could not interfere when he sees Zashi being dragged out the side window at the other end of the chapel.
Yeah, I think Tomi is even like wondering if he's hallucinating again, thinking about Suto, having seen Suto down below, and wondering, I might be out of it.
That'll work. Okay. And so this brings us to our duels. Let's go to Kit. I think this is, like we said, Yasunaka does this flip down the stairs over all the troops landing behind you. And, this is where the fight is going to take place. What's Kit's approach, inner monologue to this? I mean, it must be very troublesome.
So I don't think there's anything inner monologue. I think this is like direct, like conversation, right? They're going to engage her. Something like, my little bird, right. She had come to me for training, right? So I think I see her right, as kind of being beneath me, right? If she's better than me at fighting, it's because she's done something in the interim, right? Which she may have. But my expectation at this moment is that I have her outmatched, and so I'm like sort of, again, it's a recognizable movement from before the fight with Mask, but instead of like frantic and angry, it's like, again, it's like that swinging sort of like playing with the glaive on the stairs, right, swinging it around me kind of casually, and I say, you can still walk away.
Oh, there's no need to, kid. Did you know that your family makes deals with devils? It's interesting. When you make deals with devils, you gain certain gifts. So I don't need to be afraid of you. And it's at that moment that I think you smell this infernal sulfur in the air as her fists become wrapped in hellfire.
Oh my. Is she fighting barefisted?
Yep.
Oh my. And I say, deals only get you so far. They aren't a replacement for talent. And I wait, I wait on her move. I'm sort of trusting Zashi, who I imagine is at this point, right? These things are going on simultaneously, right? So I imagine who is still sort of like successfully tripping and dodging and et cetera, right?
Yeah, I think that she will kind of almost, it's hard to do on camera, but she'll basically hunker down almost into a ready stance with her right foot way far behind her. She hunkers down really close to the floor, basically getting ready to push off and charge at you at full speed. And as she hunkers down into that ready position, you see behind her the camera focusing. Of course, Mask watching with amusement behind as you see what he has been sowing amongst Dyer's family and by extension your own family. And then, of course, she pops up as she charges forward. You can't see Mask behind in the background anymore. And that's what it looks like. Oh, did X card pop up on the roll with me?
It popped up on mine.
I see it.
Want to make
I
sure.
think. Well, actually, I don't see. I have a link to click it,
Hey.
but I don't see it popped up.
Right, it popped up and then it went away, and I'm just wondering if maybe, I don't know. Okay.
Okay.
It's totally possible I also have a bug in my code, so who knows?
Yeah, no worries. And so at that point, I think that she just does this charge, and it's like every, step she takes, she kind of has her hands out in front of her, and each one, whoosh, whoosh, flames behind her, and the heat gets more and more intense as she charges toward you. Maybe describe how you respond and how this fight goes, or roll and then describe afterward, just however you want to do it.
Yeah, so I think I just started to say. So I think what's happening is like she's charging at me, and so I'm like, I think you see again that sort of like slow, casual spin of the glaive becomes much faster, and it's like, we're in this narrow space on this stairway, right? And so like she has to get through a spinning blade to get to me, right? I'm not like, I'm sort of braced for impact, but I'm like letting her sort of choose if she's like to sort of see, is she actually gonna like impale herself on my blade, or is she deft enough to dodge it and get inside my guard, like what exactly her play is there. What's the and the entire time the sort of silvery gray pennant is whirring behind it, sort of like it looks almost like it's like the glow of that is almost creating like the vision of a shield bubble, like that's the visual look, like it's creating a barrier. Obviously that's not quite what's happening, but that's the the sense of it. So is she, I mean, I'll roll. Is she the same scale, higher? I assume she's not lower anymore.
She is on your scale now.
Fantastic. So yeah, I'm +2. I am rolling with my style element. And that's an 8. So on an 8, so then win at a cost, mark an element, they escape, you lose reputation or other cost. Or I can narrate my loss and mark XP or deadlock. I want to win. I want her to feel the sting of defeat. But I think the way it happens is like she's charging at me, right? And I've got this defensive, this sort of like defensive stance. And at the last minute, and tell me if you're cool with this, because I'm narrating on a mixed success. So if you, but I think at the last minute, she flinches back. Right. And she I don't think it's an ability thing. I think like maybe she could have dodged through or caught it or done something, but it's a confidence thing. And she just can't, she can't face the blade. And I think at this moment she sees the other what are they called, Black Widow Syndicate lackeys hauling off with Zashi, and she smiles, but it's like a defeated, it's like being like it's a fake smile, right? It's bluster, and she says, "That's good enough." And she flips over my head, right? The same how she flipped to get in front of me. So now she flips the other way and runs off with them. So I win, but they escape. That
works. And I think actually maybe, as you spin around, you see Zashi being hauled off long enough, but being the cowards that these people are, of course, they demolish the staircase behind them, such that you are not able to chase after them, and you are left in the darkness with nothing but the glowing shards of the crystal that Tomi was entombed within. Mm-hmm. And this leaves us with Jin. Ex-girlfriend, here we go. How does that look?
Yeah, I think when I see, because I assume this is like happening at the same time, right? So I haven't seen what happened to Tomi and Zashi just yet. I think what it looks like is very slowly and deliberately, Jin like unbuckles the parts that come together as the whip, and Jin says, "I'll let you know me. This is the last time I'm going to let you touch me." And I take out the whip and snap it against the ground and move forward, ready for the duel.
Very well. All right, then she withdraws her rapier. I imagine it's kind of like almost like a cutlass style sort of thing. She kind of readies into almost a fencing posture. She has the outstretched, almost, vaguely kind of limp-armed, dangling in the air, weapon pointed directly at you. And this almost sinister smile she has kind of narrows into a very focused calm. Do you make the first move, or do you wait for her?
Yeah, I think what happens is it's truly that anime moment where it looks like Jin was standing there, but suddenly there are just like shonen lines where Jin was a moment ago. And Jin bends down, takes out the whip, throws it around her waist, and like grabs her and like pulls her close. And roses are flying everywhere.
And when you say pulls her in close, do you mean like kind of up against you in an almost kind of like seductive embrace kind of way? Like, I'm going to defeat you, but I'm going to turn you on first, like that kind of thing.
Yeah. This is Jin, right? So like, absolutely, 100%.
Awesome. You know, and I think that initially, you know, May is completely thrown off her guard. Like, I was not expecting things to get this hot. So she kind of does this like pull away from you kind of thing, and her composure is ruined, and her hair kind of falls in front of her face, and she does these kind of wild swipes, not because there's any tactical, you know, thing that she's trying to do here. It's just she's trying to get you off of her. So she's flustered, and I imagine that Jen is quite confident and pleased with themselves, or how do they respond to that before we make the roll?
Yeah, I think so. Definitely, like just moves from side to side to avoid smiles. But I think there's a moment where like Jin winks and then purposely allows the sword to cut away at the outfit again, just to reveal, you know, just that good old trick of Jin.
Every time.
I'm gonna say one of my favorite anime fights is Saito and Kenshin, where Saito slowly removes his clothes to fight Kenshin. I was very upset when Kenshin lost before, you know, Saito removed the pants. Anyway, so I will go ahead and roll with my. Are we of the same scale?
Yes.
Okay. So gonna roll with my style elements. Okay. Modifier 2, roll. Was that a roll? Was that the
Yep,
roll?
I
think
see
so.
an
Yeah.
8.
Okay, because it was the exact same one. Nice. Yeah, and I think it's definitely going to be. I think it's going to be win at a cost, because I see what's happening to Tomi at the same time. So I have to defeat her in order to be able to get to Tomi and get us out. And so in terms of a cost, should I say what the cost is, or do you have an idea?
I could generate one, but I'm curious if you have one in mind.
I mean, it would make things more painful for Jin. I'm always willing to make Jin suffer, or any of my characters suffer. I think, yeah, I think this is when she leans in close, like right as I'm about to defeat her, like the whips come out, the roses are flourishing, and it's that same thing again where Jin looks like they're going to go for another weapon and they stop themselves right before that happens. And then she looks at Jin and she says, he told me that you would hesitate, and that's what makes you weak. That's why you weren't strong enough. That's why you lost your twin brother.
Is this the great plot twist that there's a twin brother involved? I don't think I recall.
Yeah, and I think that would explain why Jin saw themselves in the demon's face.
Oh, it was your twin they saw.
Which Jin
There it
doesn't
is.
remember. So like the cost is like Jin suddenly like being like, I had a twin brother. I have a twin brother, and all of that what entails.
And that you just know that is in some way the thing that you have lost memory of. Going back to your backstory. Oh my, what might Jin's response to that be?
I think when that happens, like Jin's face just kind of like, you know, that moment in an anime where the face sort of like breaks open, like they lose their composure completely and the eyes go wide and the pupils become thin. And I think there's a moment where we see Jin's cruelty that's so uncharacteristic of them. And they don't hold back with the whip. And like there's this huge gash across her shoulder as it tears off one of the epaulets.
Oh my. And so I imagine it's almost like you maybe overdo it. Like there's this horrible, like really gnarly, just like gaping gash down her entire arm. Like that's going to be a permanent scar kind of a thing.
Yeah, and then when that happens, Jin like panics, like because he would never like go that far to hurt anyone. So it's I think it scares him.
Sure. And so I think to wrap the scene up, I mean, Zashi, by this point, I think you're long gone. Tomi is, kind of a crumple, can't hardly do any more mess on the floor. Jin, you have this revelation about your twin brother that has left you quaking. Kit, I imagine that you will turn and you're alone. Mask has disappeared.
Yeah. Like, they've collapsed the stairs. Like, can I sort of like crawl my way out of the rubble, or do I have to like try and look around to try and find a different exit?
I think that it's safe to say that you can kind of crawl out. It's just going to be a very clumsy, not particularly graceful sort of. Not that
Yeah.
you ever cared about that.
Well, I everything I do is graceful.
I think Kit, you would hear Jin like screaming like Tomi's name, Zashi's name, your name, like as they come to.
Yeah. So I mean, I think, and this is really like I can't be held. That is true. So yeah, so I think I make my way up and out. Are Tomi and Jin still in the chapel?
Yeah, I think once again I've picked up Tomi, of course, as you do. But I think at my feet you see May like passed out, and it's a mess. Like, we won't go into detail, but it looks pretty bad what happened to her. And there's like this huge like where the blood splattered on Jin, like across their uniform.
Yeah, I mean, I think I walk over and I nudge. I sort of like prod May with my toe. I think like a kind of dismissive kind of like, oh well, this thing is in the way. And I take a pristine, no, it's gray, it's not white, of course, it's like a silk handkerchief, and so it's sort of like a shiny gray silver color, and I reach out to wipe the blood from your face, and I look down at I don't say anything about that, and I look down at Tomi in your arms and I say, well, I see he got the coward's pay.
And I think Jin's voice is shaking and they're breathing hard, and they say, Kit, I need you to take Tomi. I might hurt him. I don't trust myself. Could you please?
I take him too. And I don't hold him in my arms like that. I take him and sort of like put him over my shoulder, kind of like you might a sack, right? Like I'm still angry that the two of you left. I want to make that like very clear. Right? But I say that's fine. I don't trust you either anymore. Probably never should have.
And I look at you and I say, and what did you expect me to do against my twin brother? What would you have done?
Fight. Always fight. Fight to the bitter end until it's burning around you, Jin.
So you would rather have all of us burn rather than have any of us survive? Do we mean so little to you?
Well, you certainly showed how much I meant to you. And I turn with Tomi over my shoulder, and I walk out.
And I say, and how about Zashi? Did he mean anything to you?
He stayed. And like, this is right, my back is to you as I'm walking out, as I'm saying this. I don't turn around. I say, he showed his worth, and I'll burn this place down to get him back. But then I guess, well, I suppose I say I'll burn this place down to get him back, and I think like the echo of that is clear. It's like, well, but I want to burn this place down anyway, right? So what's the sacrifice there? The hypocrisy is sort of evident, but
And I think with that,
Go ahead,
sorry,
Jen.
go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, I was just going to say what the next scene is looking like, but go ahead, Jen.
And I say, I think I just pick up May and I very gently place her against the wall. And then I leave the handkerchief to staunch the bleeding on her before I get up and leave.
What I want to have, I think, at this point is a very brief scene with Zashi. Was Zashi marked on or knocked unconscious and then they're awakening, or is it more a thing where they were just overwhelmed and then, someone like throws a blindfold over them or something like that? I want to know kind of what it's like once you kind of get to the secondary location.
I'm thinking about it now, and I think the way that I almost want Kit to have found out that Zashi got taken is that Zashi's sword is on the ground. And I think the way it happened, Zashi's fighting, doing his best, and then his sword just like gets wrapped around one of their batons and gets ripped out of his hand, and then he's just standing there with no weapon. And it's kind of a comedic like, uh-oh, and then they just reach forward and grab him and pull him into the crowd of people. And so we don't really get to see, but I don't think Zashi was necessarily knocked unconscious or anything, just like maybe gagged and dragged off.
Got it. That makes a lot of sense.
So Kit now has the chainsword.
Yeah. And I think that, I mean, having lost your weapon and having lost the deal with troops and gotten the snake eyes on that, I think it would be appropriate to go ahead and mark your style element here. And I think just briefly, there will be a scene in which, you're in some kind of small holding cell, something to that effect. And I think that, you're kind of in there and it's bars separating you from the hallway where there are a couple of other small cells. Initially, everything is dark aside from the fluorescent lighting above you, but you hear the slamming open of a door and then a series of footsteps. And eventually Mask strolls in face to face with you. Mask stands in front of you. You see the face of your mother leering down at you. And they say, I don't believe I ever got a response to my invitation.
Oh boy. I think Zashi was not expecting that at all. Is this remind me again what the deal is exactly? Would I become like part of this Black Widow syndicate type thing, or?
I think that's the implication. They said that you would belong to something. You would have a place where you belong. You'd have a place where people understood you. You'd have a place where you were wanted. You wouldn't have to be this outsider anymore. Of course, the downside is that it's essentially being radicalized into this awful army that works for Kit's family, specifically Dad and Dyer and all those kinds of folks.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Or do they? Or maybe they're just pawns of the devil. Who's to say?
Yeah. I think that this is potentially inner conflict here.
Sure.
I'm going to roll that with wood for growth, like personal growth type thing here, I think. See if this actually works. That is a 12.
Okay. Mark XP for rolling.
Yeah, and I think that the way that this looks is we get Zashi's perspective for a second, looking up at this angry face of his mother leering down, offering this tempting this like ability to belong somewhere and like be part of something. And I think we get a flashback of maybe like a very young Zashi and his mom. Like I think they're in the kitchen and they're making food together or something. And I think we get a couple of quick scenes of Zashi growing up, his mom being there with him. And I think this is the realization that he is part of something. He's just not part of what he thought he was part of. He has a family. And so why do I need this?
So what do you say in response?
I think Zashi's gonna smile and say, that was the wrong face to pick.
I think that the anger will become even more severe and palpable and scolding. And I think that they will say, very well. No matter, you will make fine bait. The others will come here, and I will deal with them when they come to collect you.
That's a good end scene.
And I think that will be the scene there. I will ask, I think this is going to be kind of like a foreshadowing camera kind of thing. Like the camera pans. But do you, by chance, Sashi, do you still happen to have that dagger on your person?
Oh, do I? I think maybe. Yeah, I think it's the like the camera pans back and like the rope that's binding my hands is almost cut already.
Hmm.
And there's a dagger like sticking out of my boot.
Got it. So that's where we will leave you. We've got just about an hour left in the session, so I want to hard frame some climax. How would people, over the course of that night or over the course of the next day, how would people track down Zashi? Or perhaps if anyone needed to do a new move to kind of training montage of sorts in order to gain scale, that kind of thing. How would people want to conduct themselves in their next scenes before we kind of go into a climax?
I am thinking I like the idea of Tomi going to Dyer. Because Tomi's been wanting to impress Dyer. And I know that this is all something to do with that family anyways. So, and I also just think it's gonna be really interesting if we can have Dyer like in our like silent, sort of final scenes. So I'm gonna go with that. I think Tomi goes to Dyer. If nothing else, it might even just be in a way to be like, hey, Kit's messing around. Kit's up to something. Like you told me to tell you if Kit's up to something. Kit's up to something.
Certainly.
Also, do you know where Zashi is?
I kind of so I have two thoughts. One involves like sort of progressing plot, and one's kind of more character relationship based. So like if the table could tell me what they think is more interesting. If I kind of want a scene with Tomi, which I haven't like really had. Like maybe when he comes to, after I've carried him out. It doesn't have to be a long scene. I kind of just want to like do something to like reflect on what just happened in the chapel between the two of us, for us to have like an interaction there, so it's not all action. But if we just kind of want to like push towards that ending, like I have this move about like familiarity with the Academy's web of power and influence. So I think this isn't exactly within the scope of the move, but I think it sort of is fictionally framed with that. Like I know who the leader of the Black Widow Syndicate is, at least the human leader. They may answer to this demon or whatever, but and I would try to track. I would sort of try to track them down and confront them about Zashi.
I see.
So I don't need to do both of those things. And I my slight preference is the scene with Tomi. But if people want to sort of like, let's hard frame the plot and get to a climactic scene, we could go the other way.
Okay, I'm okay with doing the scene with Tomi. If Tomi, kind of as a trade, you don't mind me essentially just saying, hey, here's what you find out in the conversation with Dyer, just for the sake of time.
Oh yeah, totally. Because I was thinking it'd be interesting to see, because I was thinking Tomi definitely wakes up like as he's being carried by Kit.
Okay. And before we play that scene out, Jen, what might you be doing? Not necessarily then, but just over the course of the next day, that kind of thing.
I think I'd be talking to Kit's dad.
How do you just show up at his house?
I think we have a close enough relationship that I can do that. And I think I want to confront him and force him, like, even if he's not directly involved, I feel like he at least has to partially know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I know if I'm going to get Kit to forgive me, I'm going to have to do this.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Okay, I want to go ahead and do the scene with Kit and Tomi first. A quick scene of Jen and Kit's father, and then we'll go to climax, see if we can get a good 45 minutes of action there and wrap up. So Kit and Tomi, what does this scene look like? Is it as, Tomi's kind of barely kind of coming to and that night, or what's the framing for that look like, Kit?
Here's my thought, Tomi, and tell me if you're cool with it. I think I'm sort of like, I've got you sort of like slung over my shoulder. I think we get to you live on campus, you live in a dorm. What's the...
Yeah, on campus. I don't know if there's apartments or whatever, but yeah, let's just say on campus,
Yeah, so I think
living buildings.
So yeah, so I think I come to the building that you live in. And I sort of take you off my shoulder and like lean you up in a sitting position next to the door so that when you come to, right, you'll be right there. And maybe like as I set you down, you wake up, like you come to like in that moment. Does that work for you?
I think when you pull me off your shoulder, you see that I'm already awake.
Sure. At which point I think I maybe just drop you, like not far, right? Like I've got that like, and then like your butt's like 4 or 5 inches from the ground when I sort of like make eye contact with you and see that you're awake, and like drop you the rest of the way. So you sort of like land with like a little bit of a thud. And I say, well, I think I just say, I see your cowardice was repaid.
It's an interesting perspective on things, Kit. I'm half amazed you carried me all the way here. Never seemed like you gave a damn about anything.
Zashi brought me down there to save you. And I'd owed it to him to make sure you got back. But now we're quits.
It's okay with me. You were never going to help me get ahead.
And like I think I had like half turned around, but not all the way. And I turned back and I say, "Your lack of gratitude is astounding. Forget me. Think about what Zashi has sacrificed to get you here."
Sure, Kit. I'll think about that. Then I punch in the code to the door.
I kind of want to smack you.
I kind of want to smack me too.
Like, I don't think this is a duel. Like right. But there's what's the, I'm trying to, think about like what button I can push here. I think as you turn around and punch into the code to the door, I think I turn around and my flat palm slams just past your head, right into the wall, right next to you. And I lean in close and I whisper in your ear, "You're not even worth my anger." And I, as characteristically, I spit at your feet. And like, but I keep in that position, sort of waiting for you to go into the building, sort of slink in. Or not, but that's my sort of, that's what I'm trying to sort of force you into, right? Like to turn around and confront me would be very like physically tight, right?
Yeah, I think you're not blocking the door, right?
No,
Yeah,
I'm deliberately leaving. Like that's where I'm sort of driving you towards.
I think there's just like this like sliver of a look over the shoulder, and I open the door and step in and leave.
Yeah.
Jen, what time of day do you meet with Kit's father? Do you go like in the dead of night, like just like slam the door open, like damn it, we have to talk, or is this like a middle of the day arranged meeting? Like what does this look like?
I do have an idea. Please feel free to jump in and change any details, but I think like we have a shot of a hand writing out like a letter and this mysterious shadowy figure in a chair, and it's this very fancy study, large curtains, huge shelves, and I think there's like one of those small like antique clocks nearby on the table, and then it just clicks midnight, and at that exact moment Jin suddenly appears in front of Kit's father.
I like that. I imagine that he is kind of standing. There's this kind of like a giant set of windows, takes up almost the whole wall, and he's standing there, perhaps swishing some kind of brandy around in a glass, and he's looking out at it, and he's looking at it kind of the back, for lack of a better word, backyard of this mansion that they're in, and you can see that there's a storm rolling in. And how do you start the conversation? I think he'll turn with a start, but he's not surprised necessarily. He knew this was coming.
And I say, "I've served you well, haven't I? I've been your weapon. I've hurt people like you asked me to. I've destroyed things like you asked me to. I think it's time that you gave me something."
Sets the glass of brandy back down on this giant oaken desk he has. You make a compelling point. What do you need?
Someone innocent's been caught up in all this. I have to protect a friend. And I have to make sure that you understand something. This is a warning. Kit is going to destroy everything you've built, and for good reason. And I'm going to help him, whether he wants that help or not. So with this warning, take what you can and leave. I know you. You'll rebuild somewhere else, find new victims. But the school belongs to us now.
Is this a Hearts and Minds?
Oh yes, absolutely. A Hearts and Minds. So let's see. I think I'm sounding pretty badass. So I think, yeah, I think this is metal. Oh, okay, which is my style element. Let's see how it goes. Okay. Opening Chrome 2. All right. 8.
I think what he'll do is basically say, agreed under one condition.
Oh, wait. Sorry. I
Yes.
forgot to say. You know what? I'm willing to burn 2 bonds on this so I can get it to a 10.
Okay, there we go.
I think this is important enough. So
Fine. So I think what he'll do is he won't even say under one condition. He'll just understand that he's got his back against the wall and that there is no escaping this one. So he nods, makes some mention of transferring his funds elsewhere and withdrawing from the school proper. He'll also inform you, though, that Dyer, as student council president, is hosting a banquet at this very mansion tomorrow night. It's a little celebration to kick off the start of the cultural festival. Formal attire, everyone's going to be there. If you want to save for whatever it is you want to do with your friend, that's where you'll want to be. And, well, there's no easy way to explain this, but my understanding is that a dagger of mine has fallen into your possession.
And I raise an eyebrow. Ah, yes. And I show it and like leave it at the table.
Oh, well, I believe Zashi is the one in possession of the dagger.
Oh, is that right? I forgot. That's right. We gave it to. And I say, who I'm after, who I want to protect, has that. Why?
We've run into a complication between you and me, Jin. My family reneged on a deal with a devil. He requested his bane, the only thing that can possibly pierce his heart, a certain dagger. And rather than kill me, I sent it off with one of my, henchmen. My understanding is that they ran into a fight with one Kit Fox, and the dagger was lost in the conflict. I do not know its whereabouts, but I suggest you bring it. You will need it.
Very well. And with that, I think our business is concluded. May the shadows keep you.
And you, Jin. Best of luck. I expect I will never see you again.
Not in this lifetime, no, but perhaps in the next one.
And are you just gone when the camera pulls around from him to where you were, or how does that look?
I think what it looks like is, it looks like Jin is suddenly pulled into the shadows, and we see a hint of those devil wings and the horns before they suddenly disappear.
Excellent. So we're right at half past the hour. Do people want to take 5, like one last break, and then come back to do 40 minutes, get this wrapped up? Does that sound good to people? Okay.
Yeah.
See y'all in 5 minutes. Okay, so the way that I envision this is basically as follows. If you've seen Utena, this is essentially one of the extravagant balls that Toga and Nanami always throw, and it's being held at their mansion. It's that kind of thing, but it's happening, of course, at Dyer's mansion, and he is effectively Toga. Yes, Kit, this absolutely qualifies as an academy. I had you in mind. Yup. So, the way I see it, this is marking the start of the cultural festival that was sort of the impetus for the whole game. And the way that this basically looks as we kind of get this final scene set up here is, Zashi, you have the dagger. You are basically in a holding cell underneath, somewhere in the basement of Dyer's mansion. Dyer is going to be present at this as student council president, and he may or may not be aware as to what kinds of subterfuge and espionage are going on. Jin, you're aware of what's going on. Yeah, you can absolutely send Kit a message with all the details. So Kit, you can choose how you want to play this. Tommy, you would definitely be aware of this going on as president of what is probably the second or third highest ranked club in the entire school. Speaking of clubs, every faction in the school is going to be present here, leaders and all, including Kenji, Jin, who we haven't seen since episode 1, but you've got a +1 ongoing against them. Everybody's here. So I want to go around real quick and get a sense as to what everybody's presentation, with the exception of Zashi, is kind of looking like here. Maybe start with Tomi. What would your entrance or lack thereof to this ball look like? Are you accompanied by anybody? Just all that good stuff.
Sorry, I have to remind myself. No, Shinji's my best friend. Shinji is with Jin. That's right. Okay. Yeah. So I don't think Tomi, has any sort of like +1. I think in the past, Suto would normally be the person that Tomi would arrive with, being that she was, basically like vice president of the rowing club. So I think Tomi arrives by himself, in the full formal student garb, and looks a little off because of it, because he's used to having someone with him. But that's okay. I'm gonna make the best of the night. I know this is my chance to impress Dyer and to keep this Tomi hot streak going, because that's really what's important at the end of the night.
Everything's coming up Tomi so far, or so it seems to the public. Let's go to maybe Jen.
Yeah. I think what it looks like is Jin steps out in an even fancier version, if it were possible, of the school uniform. And there's a part of the back where like the tail of the coat is extremely long and sort of like goes into frills, almost skirt-like. And as Jin steps forward, I think they're here with Shinji, if that makes sense. And of course we're in matching outfits, because, right.
Naturally. Have you coordinated with Tomi or?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Only because I think there was because we're hard framing and everything. I think there was a moment where Jin didn't want to, but thought like, oh, Tomi's just going to get in trouble. Like he didn't run when I asked him to. So I told Tomi everything. And so there's a moment where like, those opera glasses, the really snooty ones.
Mm-hmm.
So I have that and I look towards where Tomi is and I nod, like pre-heist kind of vibe.
Absolutely. And Kit, I don't even know where to start. What's Kit doing?
I think Kit wasn't invited, and Kit's going to totally show up anyway. And having a hard time coming up with a look for him. I think it's like, it's formal for sure. Like, he's not dressed inappropriately, but it's very much not not a uniform of any kind. Right? It's again, it's that silvery gray color that is his look. Hold on. I think it's like a gray suit. And I think the jacket has kind of like a fur trim along the lapels, a gray fur trim. It's a little bit, you think of gray as muted. It's not. It's cut, and that fur, and I think there are like flashes of silver at the shoulders, and sort of and like the shoulders, elbows, yeah, and there's a fox head pin, I think, clinching the collar of his shirt, and yeah, that's the look. And I think also, as he, at one point, he sort of like, as he's walking in, he like sort of pulls back his jacket and sticks his hands in his pockets to survey the ballroom, and you see sticking out of the inner pocket of his coat, a crumpled up envelope, and it's not clear whether he has Jin's letter. He has received they have received Jin's letter, but they don't, but it's not clear whether they have read his letter.
Got it. What are other people's reactions to you being here? Do they notice and there's hushed whispers about you? Is anyone actively opposed, or does anyone even care?
I think there are hushed whispers. I think I think there are hushed whispers. I think there's a lot of there's the occasional giggle. Oh, they dared to show up, and look at what they're wearing. Oh my, and alone too. Where's Suto? That kind of stuff. Yeah.
Got it. And are you simply kind of stalking around, waiting for the cue to take action?
No, I mean, I think I'm waiting. I'm waiting for the opportunity. I'm waiting for the opportunity to, I think, confront Dyer, and try and sort of force them to reveal where Zashi is.
Absolutely. Okay.
And maybe that's how I attempt to sabotage this event, by making a scene in that way.
I think you could interpret the move in that way. I think that Dyer is going to be easily accessible. He's making the rounds and thanking the heads of all these different clubs for coming and all of that kind of thing, doing as he would as student council president. So you could intervene with him at any particular time. Tomi, I think at one point Dyer will approach you and offer you your thing. Thanks to you for coming along. Is there anything that you're doing during this, or are you more or less, again, like I said, making the rounds, socializing, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I think mostly that, just telling Dyer about, I have a lot of great ideas about the student council and where we can take our club activities in the future. We should talk more, Dyer. And if I can ever be of help to you, if the rowing club can ever help you, just let me know.
He nods and gives you a little smile and says, You know, you might be limiting yourself here. You might have some student council material in you yet. But he just kind of lets that dangle, and we'll go off to say, his greetings to the others. And Jin, what are you doing at this point? Socializing, flirtation? What kind of things might you be doing?
I think I'm actively looking for Zashi, so I don't know if that's a study role or, but I think like Jin is moving from crowd to crowd, using Shinji as a shield, maybe letting Shinji go to distract when Jin needs to like go behind something and search.
Got it. And Zashi, are you making efforts to escape? Or is this going to be a jailbreak where people bust you out?
I love the idea of like meeting halfway, or like I'm halfway out as somebody is coming down to get me. We can figure out how that works. But yes, I am actively. Maybe we cut in scenes of like using this dagger that I don't know the significance of at all, but I'm using it to like cut open my bonds and like pulling the gag out of my mouth and trying to like pick the lock really badly, but trying still.
Sure. Jin, did you have an idea?
I do. It would be really disruptive and violent, but it could give Zashi a way out to us. But someone else has an idea. Because I do have a level up that I haven't taken yet. I was looking at the move Fists of Fury from the Delinquent.
Oh, is that a reskin of Kid with the Golden Arm?
Absolutely. It is.
Okay. That is certainly an option.
Yeah, unless someone wants something more subtle, All right.
Okay, we'll go with that if you'd like to take it.
I will take that opportunity. So I think what it looks like is Jin is like placing a hand across the wall and then sort of like knocking, trying to find the most what sounds suspicious and hollow. And then when they find it, Jin actually shouts out like, Kit, is this enough for you to start the fire? And then I'm going to smash through it. I think we finally see Kit take out the weapon that they've been hiding the whole time, and it's a gun covered in roses, right? And then they pull back and fire at the wall.
Kit, is this does that work for you, or is this interrupting?
Sorry, are you saying I was hiding a weapon, Jin, or?
Oh no, me.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think maybe like this is maybe the moment that, like you say, you were addressing Kit, right? When you said, is this enough to start the fire? I think this is the moment where it's sort of like revealed that we're acting in concert as the envelope falls, as I move towards Dyer, right? And the envelope falls out of my jacket pocket, and you can see that the seal is broken and it's opened, right? And I've read it. And let's hear the results of your move, and then I'll do my piece.
Awesome.
Yeah, let's go ahead and roll that.
Perfect. So definitely fire. Definitely. I feel that makes the most sense. That's a 6. I'm going to spend my last bond.
Your last one, okay.
Yeah. To make it a 7. Dun, 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 dun. So on a 7 to 9, you simply break it, or you take the 10 plus result. And I'm going to get the 10 plus result by marking an element.
Very well. So I suppose that would be fire that you mark, unless you, or did you go with water?
Yeah, I think I'm going with, oh, you know what? No, I am reckless. I'm going to go with fire, yeah.
Very well. In that case, on a 10 plus, you do so with spectacularly or with impressive control. Cracks, trace characters, shatter into powder, break later, or collapse something massive like an entire inn. So I'll let you describe what that looks like. We'll go from there.
Yeah, and I think this is like a full-on Bayonetta Devil May Cry moment, where most of my family's contract and power is within this gun. It's an heirloom gun. And so like the sides open up and these devil wings appear on the side of the gun as I like fire off against the wall, and there's just this crack that spreads throughout the entire like side of the house, and it just starts crashing in as Jin steps away and like throws out flowers towards Kit. It's showtime.
Kit?
I think at that moment, like Kit makes their move towards Dyer. I don't know if Dyer has reacted to this at all, or maybe this is even like half a second beforehand, right? Or no, because Jin said it's go time, so let's run with what he gave me. So I think at that moment I make my move towards Dyer, and I think now, you know, my glaive appears again as if from nowhere in that, you know, in that style. And I put my, I don't know if Dyer is making a move towards Jin, but I put my body between them anyway. And I say, it's done. We're taking Zashi back. And I say it loud. I want everybody to hear it. We're taking Zashi back, and we're taking this place down with him. And I think at that same moment, I kick. Right? Can we be near a table with like a candelabra full of candles on it?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I kick over the table, and send the candelabra spinning. And this is me rolling Game Breaker, right? This is me trying to ruin this academy event. And like there's also, I'm communicating something, there's other stuff happening, but that's the move here. And yeah, so I'm rolling it. I think it's got to be with fire, which I am terrible at. But this is, you know what? No, I'm actually gonna say this was calculated, like because Jin and I set this up. So I'm actually gonna say it's metal. I'll give myself a little bit more room here. I'm mad, but we planned this, so yeah. So let's roll +0. And that's an 8. And I think at this point, I want to spend 2 bonds to bump it up to got 2 bonds with Dyer, they're gone. To bump it up to a 10. Right, this is me washing my hands of him, in a certain sense. And yeah, so I get to choose 2. The effect is not fleeting. No one knows you did it. Well, that one's definitely not true. You force a change of leadership. Yes. And the effect is not fleeting, right? This is like a permanent damage that's done. And we can, you know, I think it's I'd like to hear how Dyer responds, but I think the sort of the result is, I mean, the ballroom's on fire, the party is ruined, and I think the sort of like long-term repercussions is that Dyer is undermined. Right.
Oh, sure.
You know, as president of the student council, like I think in Jin convincing my father to back off, right, some of his institutional support from like the adults around the school has dissipated somewhat too. So
For sure.
it makes sense that like a setback could be worse than it otherwise would have been.
I think that what was happening with Dyer is upon seeing this wall get wiped out, he immediately draws his sword, his claymore, and he is running at full speed to intercept, and basically you cut him off, and there's this wall of fire blocking his passage. He'd have to dramatically jump through it in order to get access to you folks. Tomi, what's your reaction to this? And I think also we'll have kind of a quick shot of Zashi. You've just kind of gotten out of the holding cell and you're creeping, your way through the wall, the halls and so forth, making your way up to the surface. And then there's this rumbling, just this explosive, like the whole camera shakes as Jin makes their move.
So I think seeing the Zashi has been freed. I think this is a surprise to Tomi. I don't think Tomi actually wanted to believe Dyer was behind taking Zashi. And I think Tomi turns to Kit and yells, "What do you think you're doing? Why are you destroying everything?" And then I'll look to Dyer and be like, "And what? Why did you take Zashi? He doesn't matter. None of this. Let him go. This could have been something great." We can still bring it back. It will still be great.
Jin, Kit? Tomi, was that directed at Kit?
I think it's
Jen?
directed at anyone that is threatening the Academy, which right now is absolutely Kit. I don't know how Dyer is going to respond. I don't even know how Jin is going to carry themselves at this point. But
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah, I mean, I think Kit is just completely ignoring you. I think like Kit, like to Kit, it seems like this is like related to the comment I made in the chat, right? But like to Kit, it's like you care about fucking club politics, and this is something completely different. You're like, oh, I want. Like it's obviously like I want my club to be the best, and I want to be president of the student council, and it's like, what? No, I'm gonna kill my cousin right here. And I think that I don't think I can beat Dyer in a fight. Like I haven't earned that. I haven't studied, but I think Zashi has. I think what I kind of want to do is set up that fight. So I think I put my the blade of my glaive, and I'm like deliberately ignoring Tomi. So if Tomi wants to make a move, he should make a move on me. Just like I'm deliberately leaving that open, right? But I put my glaive, the blade of my glaive, to Dyer's throat, and I'm like, take us to Zashi. And I think that's a hearts and mind move if he's susceptible to the threat.
I think that's fair to say, and I will say also that at this point in all the confusion, everyone's running around not paying attention to who's who. Someone sees, I guess everyone that's present, Tomi, Jin, Kit, you see strolling along the balcony so calmly, dressed in a most dapper tuxedo mask, wearing a little masquerade mask to hide the more disturbing aspects of their visage, but you've attracted their attention. They're in the room. They're on the scene at this time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's go ahead and do a quick hearts and minds roll, and then we'll bring Zashi onto the screen, I think.
Yeah, so that's definitely with fire. Probably won't go terribly well. Nope, that's a 3.
I think that Dyer will actually just kind of glower down at you and then kind of turn over his shoulder and say, Tomi, deal with him. What do you do, Tomi?
I'll deal with him. Kit's in the way right now.
So are you challenging me to a duel? Is this a PC versus PC duel?
Absolutely. Yeah. No. This is. I think there's definitely like a. You hear, from the side of your ear, just Kit, point your blade at me.
So here's my question. I mean, we're gonna deal with that. I imagine that I like how does Dyer David, how does Dyer like show me that the threat, like I've got a blade to his throat, right? How does he show me that the threat isn't even really a threat? Like how does he just dismiss that?
I almost want to say that he basically makes this into like a, okay, fine, kill me if you want kind of a thing. Like he doesn't make an effort to like get the blade off his throat. It's almost like he's saying, try me. Like he doesn't think you have the guts to do it. I'll leave it up to you if you actually want to, dispatch him or not. But I think he'll basically challenge you in that way.
So Tomi, I don't think this is the moment for Dyer to be dispatched. But Tomi, so what do you do to like make to keep me from just like slicing Dyer's throat? And you have the, like, do whatever you want, like it will work. I just want to sort of get the, like, Kit can't do it themselves, right? Kit left to their own devices will kill Dyer. So I want to know, and like how you like prevent that.
I'm wondering, okay, stick with me for a second. So we said that Mask is in the area. I'm wondering if somehow, don't question the timing too much, but Tomi like asked Mask, can you give me the strength to stop him? And I'll make a deal with Mask.
They extend their hand.
And I'll put mine out and touch theirs.
All right. I'll say you have free reign at this point. How do you want to use your devil powers to intervene here?
It's just like blink of an eye. Tomi's in front, trident, holding the Kit's sword away from Dyer's neck.
Perfect. I love it.
And I will say that for what it's worth, as long as you are in this devil service, you may never use the duel or overcome a move against them.
That's fine.
Yep.
If they're going to make me the best, then I'm good with this.
Okay. But yes, Kit, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no, I love that. So like my glaive, right? It's a spear, right? It's a glaive. It's like caught in the teeth of your trident, and now I guess the duel is on. So you're challenging me. What's your offer?
I'm kind of curious. Do we maybe want to cut to Jin and Zashi real quick while I think about this for a second?
That's fine. Work? Jin, is this where you make your move?
Yeah, oh my gosh. I think I see what's happening with, you know what, maybe like, I think this is the moment when Zashi gets out of the rubble, and so Jin is distracted and it doesn't see what Tomi is doing, right? They just think, oh, it's all going according to plan, Kit fire, blah, 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 burn up the school, da, 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 da. I'm gonna get Zashi. Is that what I see Zashi though? Like,
I love the idea of Zashi just crawling out of this pile of rubble covered in like sheetrock dust and like coughing.
And I think I extend a hand and I pull you close, like just like effortlessly lift you up from the rubble. Now,
Yep.
kitten, you've gotten so dirty.
Zashi is very clearly blushing through the sheetrock, through the dust. You can see the red.
And I think like I do my best to clean you up as best I can. And then that's when I I'm still smiling, but I lean in and I whisper and I say, you have the weapon that can destroy him, that can destroy them, I say. And I'm like, my eye is like focused on Mask. And I say, Zashi, I think you're
Oh.
strong enough to do it.
What, this thing? I'm just holding it up. What am I doing? And I look back at Mask again.
And I say, you're going to use both your hands to take hold of your destiny. One is holding the whip, and the other one is holding that dagger. And I give you my, I hand you my whip.
Ooh. Okay. I love that. And then do we cut over to that duel?
That's a fine place. Tomi, do you have an offer?
So, okay. I'm just thinking that I don't know that there's much Tomi would offer at this point, except for like, you know, to let you keep your life.
Oh, so just remember, it's a meta offer. Like, I mean, it's a meta
Right.
move, right? So you can offer me like XP, you can offer me, you know, like narrative. Like, this doesn't have to be the character making the other an offer, right? There's it's like the player is offering stuff.
Yeah, I don't know that I don't even have any XP actually.
You know, burning bonds, whatever.
So I'm trying to think of like what I could give you in the fiction.
I feel like it should include Suto because both of you are like caught up in that.
Yeah, I think Suto, and I think that makes a lot of sense.
Okay. Then I feel like this is a bit of a rehash of what I offered Zashi, but I will, because I feel like, so Tomi's taken on this devil power, which I feel like has corrupted him. And I'm going to offer that if you concede and leave, I will not corrupt Suto.
I mean,
or attempt to, at least. I don't know.
Right. Like, meaning, so I don't care that much about that. Here's my counter offer. You can have Suto to do whatever you like with her. And you succeed and drive me back and defeat me. But in doing so, you.
Can I interrupt? I just want to make sure. I want to make sure mechanically. I want to say the counter offer is, Kit, this is what you will give Tomi if Tomi lets you win. So
yeah.
Yeah. So you don't modify the offer that Tomi made. You basically rejected that and say,
okay. Meaning the counter. So that's how that works. Oh, because I don't. Let me think this through again, because I'm right. The way the counter offer works is that I offered them something instead for them to lose. Oh, so can I make a suggestion then for something you could offer me? If that because I know you were struggling. It sounded like you were struggling with that. That like, is that okay, David, for me to do that?
I'll allow it. I think it's. I don't know, Jamie. I mean, I'm kind of interested in consulting with you here. I'm okay with it though.
Sure. Like the way that the move works, it's actually okay if Jesse offers a counter offer, but then if John's not okay with it, like then so even if like Jesse can like actually change part of what John offered, that's still okay, because that's still technically in the rule of they may accept, reject, or make a counter offer. If the challenge accepts, they lose the duel and mark XP. So
right.
So a counter offer is still
right
it's still within legal bounds.
Yeah, it's not quite what I'm doing. It's not quite the counter offer, I think. But here's a thought, John, and tell me what you think. You win, right? I'm defeated, I'm driven back. Whatever you're trying to sort of accomplish in terms of like showing your dominance is accomplished. But Dyer is killed and by your hand, either accidentally.
Yeah, see, I can't accept that. That's the thing that I'm here to stop, right? Like,
Okay.
so
Okay, so yeah, so I think I just reject your offer. I'm not going to make a counter offer in that, like a real, like it's just a rejection. And I think we
Yeah.
both reject.
and I think we end up in a draw is the way it works.
Yeah. So how does that work? So we both mark an element.
Yeah, it says both mark an element. The offered player chooses whether to win or draw.
Oh, okay.
What does that mean, the offered player?
The object of the offer. It sounds like, Tomy, you were making an offer to Kit, and Kit flat rejected it. Well, actually, okay, no, I'm sorry, you did not make a counter offer, right, Kit?
It depends on how we want to sort of like understand what I just did there, right? Because it doesn't really fit in the way the move is written. Because I was offering like, I'll lose, right? But this is what I want in order to lose.
Rules as written, that would be a flat rejection and would not count as a counter offer, if I understand that correctly.
Sure. Yeah, and
I think so.
Okay. So in that case, it is a hard draw. Both PCs mark an element.
Got it. So what is it? What do you think this looks like as a draw, Tomy?
Okay, the bit I'll offer is that I think, Tomy stands in front of Dyer, pushing you back, and the whole time Dyer just like has this calm look as he stands and looks over Tomy's shoulder as we begin to spar, moving back and forth, right? And I imagine you've said that you're very smooth in how you move, and I think Tomy at this point is now like very sharp and jutted in his movements, and probably is over aggressive in trying to attack you.
Yeah, so I'm like dodging out of the way the whole time, but clearly on the back foot, right? Defensive, and you're the aggressor. And I like what pulls it to, here's my suggestion for what pulls it to a draw. Right, is that you end up driving me back to where Jin and Zashi are. And obviously we haven't set up, right, that you're opposed to me, but you're not necessarily opposed to them, and I think yet explicitly. And maybe that's sort of like where the duel ends, with us at that impasse as we sort of have to figure out, like, okay, so what's the next thing that happens here? Does that work?
That makes sense to me, because I've done what I was supposed to do, of keep you from Dyer.
Mm-hmm.
And is this the part, Zashi, where you have to take off through the burning room in an effort to dispatch Mask?
I think so.
Okay. Now, I will say here, I do see that we are at the end of the allotted time. So I do want to be respectful of people's time. Does anybody need to hop off or anything along those lines? Okay, I just wanted to make sure that, I was being respectful of people's time. Okay. So we won't end on a cliffhanger here. We'll just go ahead and finish this scene out. I'm thinking, 15 more minutes, if that is acceptable to folks. Okay, great. So Zashi, the only issue that you're running into at this point is that your style element is marked. Someone would need to do a comfort or support here, or some other move in order to restore that to you before you would be able to make a fight.
Oh, could I have said that pretty speech I made was a comfort and support move?
Oh, totally.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna roll. This is gonna count, so I'm gonna use my +2. Chrome. Let's go. 7.
Just barely gets there.
Yeah. just enough. But yes, you get to clear a mark element.
All right. Yeah, so definitely gonna clear fire, which is ironic as I'm running through the flames toward Mask. And I think that in the flight in this like kind of almost slow-mo run through the flames, both the whip and the dagger catch on fire. And so now I'm wielding this flaming whip and this flaming blade and facing down Mask. Is this out on the balcony?
I think that works. Perhaps it's sort of like, I imagine it as kind of like a wraparound balcony, and anyone who, you know, yeah, is like maybe going towards the front door sees you over all of that.
Yeah,
Unless you'd rather do this perhaps up the grand staircase, kind of on the first landing in front of everybody that way. Those are the two most dramatic locations I can think of.
I like the on the balcony above everybody as they're looking up.
Nice,
at this.
nice.
Excellent. So maybe, perhaps Kit, I mean, I just want to make sure that this fictional positioning works for everybody. Tomi, Kit, maybe your guys' duel, gave just enough distraction or bought Zashi just enough time that you could take off and, try to engage this one last fight basically against Kit. Does that sound okay to people? Okay. So Zashi, Mask is waiting for you. How do you present yourself to them? Do you hold the dagger high, or do you keep it, in check until you can reveal it at the last minute when you defeat them once and for all, or how does that play out?
I think this is the thing, like they don't recognize what the blade is because it's on fire. Like it's obscuring what it actually is. And so I've got the blade down at one side, I've got the whip down at the other side. I'm breathing a little bit heavily because I just ran up here. But there's this look of determination that we haven't seen on Zashi's face before. And this kind of glare, like, you need to stop playing games with my friends. And I just rush at him.
In a flash, they extend their hand, wrench a piece of your soul from your body, mark wood, and it forms into the scythe, which they hold defensively, ready to meet you as soon as you strike forward. If you would like to make this a duel, we can treat them as effectively being on your scale because you are in possession of the dagger.
I think that also tracks because I'm very angry.
Yeah, that's why I picked wood.
Yep. Yeah, let's have this be a duel. So let's roll with fire here.
How do you fight? I mean, you are two-weapon fighting with a burning dagger and a whip of roses. This is the coolest two-weapon fighting I think I've ever imagined in a game. What does that look like, especially with Zashi of all people wielding the two weapons?
I think most of the fighting part is with the whip, and so the whip, it's hard to tell if it's actually Zashi or maybe the whip is doing some of this on its own. But the whip is just kind of cracking around Mask's face, like keeping them at a distance so they can't actually engage quite as well as they would have liked. But then whenever the Mask kind of comes in close to actually deliver a blow, this blade comes up and manages to stop the scythe at just the right moment. And I've gone ahead and rolled, and I got an 11. So on a 10 plus, you win the conflict and may mark XP if you show mercy or let them escape. And so I think this moment is maybe when Mask comes down with the scythe, I put the dagger up and it cuts through the scythe. And then that's the moment that they recognize what this blade is, and before they can do anything, the blade is at their throat.
Do
And
you show mercy?
I think I'm gonna leave this up to them and say, let my friends go.
I gotta say, I think devils are too proud. I think that they would try to make one last burning swipe at your hand in an effort to, like tear your arm off, something. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I can't imagine a devil ever being allowing themselves to be taken hostage in that way.
Yeah, and I think that this is the dagger slashes across their throat, but I'm not fast enough to avoid this big hand that comes up and slams me and maybe knocks me off the balcony. And so I'm falling through the air with this flaming whip trailing behind me as I'm falling down off of the balcony.
Oh, but I'm going to catch you, of course.
And so is that how this goes? Sashi lands delicately in Jin's arms.
I think it's like that slow-mo anime moment where it's very much like a princess falling into their prince's arms, right? Yeah, I think I catch Zashi effortlessly and twirl him around, and I'm so proud of him.
I think from the effort of this, Zashi is like drifting in and out of consciousness as you're swinging him around, and like I think this might be like the end of the like Zashi just kind of passes out, and that's the end of the scene here.
Sure. Tomi, Kit, any last reactions from you folks? Maybe starting with Tomi.
I I don't entirely know how we want to conclude things. I kind of like the idea of Tomi like picking himself up from this fight with Kit and just heading back into the flames to rejoin Dyer and the mask, and maybe that's just where it's left.
I was gonna say if we go to epilogues, that would be interesting to see how that plays out. Kit, what is your final reaction before we wrap up the scene?
Here I'm thinking if Jin and Zashi are cool with it, the three of us walk out of Dyer's burning mansion, right? This was Dyer's mansion. That's the ball took place at. And as we step out the door, I turn around and light a cigarette on the building in flames. And I'm picturing there's like kind of a right. It's like in the walls of the school, right? And there's like maybe like a courtyard with a bench, and I don't know whether Jin and Zashi are still there or they've gone on. But like I sit on a bench and smoke my cigarette as I watch the mansion burn and maybe hear the sirens of the fire department coming to prevent the fire from spreading and put it out.
I think that's a brilliant way to close. So, would people like to do epilogues, or maybe leave it there and make it kind of an ambiguous kind of ending? I'm hearing yes to epilogues.
I was excited about epilogues, but then I realized, well, we have this like being the main conflict hasn't been resolved, so maybe it's better just to leave the cliffhanger. I don't know what other people think.
Yeah, I have an idea for an epilogue for Jin, but how about other folks?
Sure. Yeah, Jen, if you would like to go first, if you've got one all ready to go, I'm fine with that. And of course, if anybody wants to leave their epilogue ambiguous and cliffhangery, that's cool too. I'll just put the option out there for anyone who'd like to take it.
I think for Jin's epilogue is kind of dark. Maybe I should leave it for last.
That is okay. Zashi?
Yeah, I can do one. I think Zashi's epilogue is another training montage with Kit. This time in like a more formal kind of setting. We're going back and forth, and Zashi actually like looks fairly competent. They're using this blade, this chain thing, much more like a whip than an actual sword. Kind of calling back to that last fight. And you can see that they've got a little dagger in their other hand, and they've kind of taken up this style. And I think that there's this moment of Zashi like randomly overpowering Kit for a second, and then there's this surprised look on both of their faces. And I want to have Suto in the background, just like cheering us on, kind of a thing, because I want to bring her back in. So yeah, I think that's my epilogue there.
Awesome. Tomi, would you like to go next, or do you want to hold off?
I can go. So Kit's game breaker move, one of the things was that there was a change in leadership, right? So I wanted to offer that I think naturally Shinji assumes the role of student council vice president. And I think we see Tomi like redoubling his efforts at training, but then also spending more time with Shinji. And I think there's like this ominous shot of like him handing over an envelope that we get like a bit of it's like sealed with a wax seal of the family crest, right? That and with this like devil's deal, tied to it.
I love it. Kit.
Yeah, I mean, so I don't think that there's a lot of resolution for Kit, really. And I'm curious to hear Jin's epilogue, because I think it factors in. But I think Kit is just keeping up the fight, right? The sense that mask is, they understand now, right? That the devils are a part of this, right? This web of influence that extends through their family and the school, and fucks with kids in bad ways, and is a bad influence. But their focus, I think their focus is still on the school, right? They can't see past it. And so they're still here, fighting the duels, and like still a little bit caught up in the game as they try to destroy what Mask has built up. But yeah,
How that happens exactly kind of remains to be seen.
Yeah, I think that's like, if this is season that's season 2.
Makes total sense. And Jen.
Yeah, so I think first there's a brief montage of that school festival. And so we see Jin had successfully convinced Kenji to go along with their idea of a play / kissing booth of Jin offering like moments in literature history. But then the montage fades and we abruptly cut to Jin walking through the chapel and then going again like in that basement and then going deeper beneath it. And there is the main chamber of the Bone and Blade, but we can see that Jin has probably worked with Kit to defeat every other member of the Bone and Blade. And they open a door to go even further below. And there's this huge like side of the wall where this mural is painted. And there are the faces of every adult and every demon who's been involved in all of these bargains with different demons and different devils. And there's this huge X across Kit's father because he's been taken out of the picture for now, and across several different faces. And I think maybe this is where Jin looks at the mural and maybe Kit's behind them, and they say, it's going to take some time. And as we defeat more of them, I'm going to become weaker, if not die in the process. But you'll carry on without me, won't you, Kit?
I think Kit says, whatever we need to do to fuel the flames.
Awesome. Yeah, oh yeah, and I think like this is the last shot. We see Tomi's face like on the wall, like it starts painting itself now that we know that Tomi has been fully. And I think the last thing is Jin would put their arms around Kit's neck and say, I'm not ready to give up on Tomi, but I'm glad that you're by my side.
And just to that shot is like of your face, like and my back, so the camera doesn't know how Kit reacts.
I think that is a brilliant place to cut to credits here. Thank you guys so much for playing. I'm going to go ahead and stop recording. If anybody needs to hop off here, I know we're past the time, so that's totally fine. I would like any kind of feedback that you guys could offer. If you do have any stories to offer, that would be wonderful too. I will go ahead and we'll close out there. Thanks for playing, guys.